Human design is a part science, part spiritual system that tells you who you came here to be. You have your own blueprint, your own way of becoming successful, your own way your dreams are going to come true, the way you'll experience the most joy and fulfillment. The instruction manual for how to move through the world is custom to you. When you act according to that manual, when you act as the real you, everything in life comes to you with more ease and less resistance. We all know we're different, yet we're still acting like there's one way to do life. Let's talk about it. To find out your design and the designs of the people in your life, you can visit myhumandesign.com or download the My Human Design app in the App Store and on Google Play. I want to talk about those periods in our life where we feel stuck today, because life is moving so quick and so fast these days that I feel like we're feeling more stuck more often, or we're feeling our stuckness more acutely than we ever have before. And that's because life is really trying to make us aware so that we can be on this fast track to change. So let's talk about being stuck. The first thing that is the most important thing is that if you feel stuck, you actually aren't stuck. It's when you aren't aware that you are stuck, that's the people that you really need to worry about. That's the times you really need to worry about yourself, is when you're not realizing it. If you are listening to this ever in a phase where you feel your stuckness and it's paining you, or it's making you want to not be stuck and want to be moving forward, that's already meaning that there is part of you, i.e. on the intention level, on the desire level, that is not stuck, that is not happy staying where they are. And that is usually the first change to getting to something new. So if you feel the irritation over your stuckness, you're already on the way to getting out of it. Now, what I think is the most fundamental, incredible thing about human design is it is the manual to move things forward in your life. It is a practical manual. It is not just, all of which are important things. It's not just pray. It's not just set your intentions. It's not just remember that you are innately divine. It is, if you want to create movement in your life, here is how you specifically, your aura, your energetic body does it. And it does so via your design's strategy. Your strategy is actually derived from your energy type. So depending on what your energy type is in your human design, your type would have a strategy. And your strategy is based on, okay, if I'm this energy type and I make and consume and exchange energy in a certain way, what is the best way for me to use that energy in order to dance with life, in order to create that momentum, that magnetism, that sort of shiny vibe about me, in order to attract and create all the things I came here to attract and create. So in a way, if you imagine that there is a highest destiny that is mapped out for you, how do you activate that? You activate it via your strategy. And so I think a lot of the time, what we try and do if we have a goal is we try to think about that goal, and then we try to reverse engineer the steps on the practical level that we think we have to take. But in reality, there's a whole other way that human design introduced 37 years ago, a different approach to getting things done and to actually getting the most energetic bang out of your buck in terms of every action that you take, what it's going to give you back. So for example, with projectors, their strategy of being invited is a completely different way of going about the world than what we've been taught to. And the same with every other type. We read that once, just like I did, and thought that we kind of got the hang of it. But if you imagine that your strategy is your strategy for every single day for the rest of your life and it will never change, it is something that you have to actively realign yourself back to every single day, right? And so every single day as a projector, life will tell me, no, you should reach out to this person, or you should just email that person, or just DM that person on Instagram and tell them you love their work and you'd love to collaborate, or whatever it is. And that mind, that not self, i.e. everything that is trying to keep you away from being your real self, is strong, and it's a spin doctor, and it's convincing, and it sounds so quickly rewarding that you want to get its shiny carrots. And it will tell you, oh, it's not going to cost you too much to just reach out to that person, or just say this about that person and hope that it engineers you this exact result, because it's that result that you're then pinning your entire life's happiness on, or your entire career on this one thing happening, that voice will come in. And so really the work with the strategy is every single day realigning yourself back to that. Where are you not doing it in your day? And how can you refrain from every moment that you're not doing that? So as a generator, every time you're doing something out of mentally having to come up with it yourself and engineer the plan forward, rather than physically respond with excitement to something that was put in front of you and wait for that to happen, then that's going to take you off your path. And now you generators and manifesting generators are going to start to feel like it's costing you too much to try and get on the front foot of what is going to come your way anyway, that you then just need to respond to. And I've said this before, that 1,000 shots off target are not going to get you anywhere near where one shot on target is going to. So imagine, as a generator, if you're busying yourself with trying to get on the front foot of things, you're not going to be able to receive that one thing that life is going to want you to respond to, right? That one person that you meet that's going to light you up, that's going to give you the idea to collaborate with them. And then you absolutely can ask them to collaborate. You absolutely can then send them the email. You absolutely can take action on that thing. But unless you've had that gut natural response first, it is not going to lead you anywhere. It's literally a mathematical equation. If you're not viscerally first physically excited by something that has been brought into your awareness through your eyes, through your physicality, through a situation, don't try and outplay what's in your movie and try to look out around the corners into other people's movies and try to be engineering this and that and trying to find this kind of person and blah, 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 just to try to outsmart what life is already sending you. I think I mentioned this to you recently, T, that, the more and more I've been on this journey, the more literal I realize how strategy is. It is literally so real. Everything I've been wanting for the last 6 months has happened to me because people who I would have, if I'd looked for 1,000 people to fulfill these kind of roles, I never would have found on the first go these two incredibly aligned people that I was desiring in my life to have. And all of a sudden, they're the first people to invite me in their category on the first round. And I could not change a single thing about either of them. And I share that to basically give you faith that life really does know what you need better than you do. And if you just do your strategy every single day, then everything will activate. And as a projector, my strategy is not to reach out and make things happen. It's to make it known that I'm open to invitations by putting my work, my services, my gifts, and my guidance out into the world, readily available, so people know what I'm about and know what to come to me for. And so therefore they're seeing me clearly, and then they are inviting me, or inviting us as a team to do certain things with them, or inviting themselves to do something for us. And it never, ever, ever ceases to become less amazing or less surprising or less rewarding, and also less affirming to this knowledge, because the more times I've realized that, wow, everything that is good that has ever come to me has come from an invitation, including every single person I've hired, including every single person I've ever worked with, including every single relationship I've ever been in. And also everything that has really fallen away has been because I tried to make things happen. I remember you reminded me of this story last week, that when the book came out and our the publishers, their PR team wanted us to have a list of people that I wanted to send this book to. And me as a 4, I knew that I was only wanting to send it to people who I already had a rapport with, who I already had a connection with. So I sent it to my friends, like people who I know and love. And that felt great and that worked. And then I sent it to someone who was supposedly a good person to send it to by our accounts and by theirs. And the book literally bounced back from the address that we sent it to. I mean, you can't make this stuff up if you try. And it becomes more and more literal the more and more you do it, because life is going to show you the effects of not doing it so much quicker to save you from having to keep doing it. When you're kind of more asleep at the wheel, you can't really connect the dots and it's murky and you can't tell what's an invitation and what's not an invitation and whatever. The more you do it, the more you realize how literal it is. And I was telling someone last week because they were confused about what the invitation is. And I said, an invitation is not me saying to you, you should start this business if I'm not the customer. It's not me giving you a business idea. It's only directly from people who stand to receive your gifts, your guidance, your products, or your services, right? So, but the more you're on that journey, the more you realize how literal it is. The more as a generator or manifesting generator, you really respond to things, the more life is going to send you things to respond to, the more you're going to actually be able to clock your response to those things, the more obvious it's going to be, the more obvious it's going to feel. So, and it goes the same with reflectors and manifestors too. My sister just got her absolute dream job. She's an actress, she's a manifester. And every single challenge that she's come up with in this work, and one day I'll have her on the podcast to talk about it, but it's been so inspiring. And we've both been looking at each other this past month being like, everything is happening for me because I'm being invited and I'm making myself available and be seen to be invited and be okay with that and not try to control and force and push. And my sister has been like, everything that I wanted is coming true for me because I'm not afraid to pick up the phone and have conversations with people and let people on my team know where I'm at with things and know what I'm feeling. And not only are they not giving me pushback, but because I'm doing it in such an aligned and heart-based and open way, they're loving it. They want more. They're getting on board. You know, when she wanted to change her costume, she wanted to have a conversation about her character with the writer. And the writer's like, call me any day you want. Let's have a chat, even if you want to call me every single day. And she's got suggestions and she has ideas. And these are not things that the normal life would tell you is the right way to behave in any certain type of container, right? Most people in my industry, it's like, have a plan, have a this, have a that. I don't do that because that's not my way and I honor my way. And the more you honor whatever your way is, your strategy being such a huge part of that way is the first doorway that will unlock all your other ways. That's really what it comes down to. And all the refinements, like me knowing I'm a 4, for example, that helps, of course. And that's like sort of, like I said, the refining process. But what it really, really, really comes down to is removing whatever resistance you have to letting yourself follow your strategy. What are the reasons your mind says it can't be that easy? It can't be that good. You'll be judged for living life this way. It's not going to work out for you if you try informing, responding, being invited, or letting the answer come to you as a reflector. What are the stories you have? Whatever your energy type is, I want us all, if you have the app, you open your strategy and you read your strategy. And I really want us to do this work right now as we come into the last bit of the year, the time when everything speeds up anyway on any given year. But right now, things are really going to speed up, especially with these 2 extremely powerful eclipses that are coming up. What exact voices and resistance do you have around letting yourself live your life by your strategy? What if life could be as simple as responding? What if life could be as simple as, you know, if you are supposed to respond, not trying to do anything other than acting on when you notice that something in your life causes an excitement in you or lights you up inside. And then you throw all your might behind it and all your energy and your excitement behind it. And you know that without excitement, that thing, even if it's the most amazing guaranteed success thing in the entire world for most people, is not going to work for you and therefore be a waste of your time because you did it without having that response first. This is really the invitation of this time: is can we live life according to the way we are meant to be doing things? And why do we have, and let's look at why that we have those voices that say it maybe couldn't be that easy or it couldn't be that simple, and we can't have it as good as we possibly stand to have it as good as it is now.
And one of my favorite things about pointing to the strategy when we're talking about getting unstuck is that there's a reason why when you go in the app and it says strategy and then in parentheses it says how you make things happen, because that is how you as a design work with physical reality. If you're feeling stuck, you can't unstuck yourself by thinking your way through it. Like, you're not going to just mentally figure out how to get yourself unstuck. You have to get unstuck by physically moving through your reality in an aligned way that shifts physical reality around you so that you are unstuck. And so for like someone like me who's a projector, and Jenna, for us it is being invited. So it is looking in our physical reality of where am I sharing my gifts in areas that have not been invited, pulling those back and looking for the invitations and being open to the invitations. That is what gets us unstuck.
And we've really spoken about this because we both do this, and it's not just to do with being stuck in career. We've noticed stuckness in our family dynamics and our close friend dynamics. And what we've had to do is remove our energy from insisting that someone receive our perspective or our way of seeing things when they haven't asked. And that sounds easy if you're not a projector, but if you are a projector, you get why that's difficult. And that is the work of allowing yourself to be invited, is you have to stop insisting that you get invited in places that your mind is telling you you should be, or that you get the quick hits from. And it's the same with generators. Like, where are you talking yourself into doing things and saying yes to things because you think you should? And how is that contorting your friendships, your relationships, your family dynamic? Because you weren't excited about doing things, but the mind quickly told you that, oh, you get quick praise if you know, did the dutiful thing or the kind thing or the right thing, or it's, you know, selfish to do it any other way. And it's how we move the physical pieces, because obviously consciousness is one thing, mind is another. But like I said, you're never actually stuck if you feel stuck. Because if you feel stuck, that's the first step of, okay, how do I quickly get realigned? And this is the piece that is the most fundamental, but also the most overlooked when people look at their design, you know, me included. When I first started learning all the fascinating pieces, like there's all your gifts and your sun personality and your digestion and all these things, and they're all incredible. But whenever you want to step from one level of your being to the next level of your being, it always comes back to your strategy. And what's amazing about your strategy is it shows up in so many different forms, right? So, you know, before you got invited to, you know, be very honest and give advice to one of your friends. And then the next minute you're giving advice to 10 of your friends. One minute you're getting invited to write someone a PDF. And the next minute, you know, you have 1,000 people asking for the PDF, or you create one legal document. And then the next minute it's turned into a template that loads of people can use. So when we pull our energy that we think is costing us nothing in the places that we're doing the exact opposite of what our strategy is, i.e., not responding before we move, insisting in our invitation, hiding instead of informing, acting spontaneously as a reflector instead of waiting for life to keep on giving you the same message. It's that energy that we're putting into that is creating this unnecessary delay, because we're putting energy into something that it then has to run its course out of, and we have to pull the energy back out there to even get to neutral. So why not stay in neutral, right? Until the opportunity for the strategy comes up, which is usually every day, right? And just stay available for the strategy. It will feel like maybe you're doing less things, but each one of those things will end up then taking more of your energy, because it will be an aligned thing and it will take you to higher heights. And so really at this moment in time, I would say generators and manifesting generators, where are you still doing things you haven't responded to? It's going to cost you 10 times as much to keep doing that. Projectors, where are you insisting on being heard? It's going to cost you 10 times as much as it used to before. Manifestors, where are you still hiding and not being open and honest and volunteering your sharing your urges, the way you see things, the things you feel like saying, literally the things you feel like saying, right? Where are you resisting and staying small and staying quiet for fear of whatever people are going to think of you or how it's going to be received? And reflectors, where are you not waiting because you want to act on the something that's just randomly occurred to you and you want to convince yourself that's going to be the thing to do? And it's so much more important at this time because, like I said, the effect of every cause is going to be 10 times bigger. And so in the past, where you may have kind of similarly afforded to do those kind of exact opposite of your strategy, I want us to all start thinking now that we really can't, because not only is it throwing us out of alignment, it's making us also less time and energy of ours being available for even more of the actual time doing the strategy, which is also going to have 10 times bigger an effect. So it can take us 10 times higher in the positive as well.
And just because I know it gets confusing in this, when we talk about this topic, about you're not saying don't do nothing, just sit on your couch waiting for an invitation. Because, for example, this invite that came in for you, you even said to me, Taylor, how it's almost too good to be true. It feels like I should have had to interview like 10 people for this thing. And this person is so beyond perfect. And he's the first person that's invited us. And I reminded you, it's because you listened to your strategy and authority throughout this whole process that it's kind of, it cuts out all the unnecessary confusion. But what we get confused about is what are we doing between the stuckness and when the invitation comes? Because it's not nothing. So can you talk a little bit about, for each of the types, what does that in between space look like for each of us?
So I think that's such a good question. And I always want to bring it back to, because I've been, in my 20s thinking that, just waiting for a sign from the universe would, mean that I could give myself a little bit of a off the hook. That means I get to just chill and do nothing. And of course that felt like terrible because my soul knew that it needed to be doing more and wanted to be doing more. So as a projector, you put yourself out there. And I don't mean in an obvious, overt way. You have to put you out there, but you get really good at the things you're really good at. You make it very clear to see, if someone was to look at you, what you offer. You make it good quality. You and I, we always say, in our colloquial terms, just make good shit. You know, you make it very clear that what you are offering is helpful to the people that it will be helpful to. It doesn't have to be helpful to everyone. It could just end up being helpful to one person, and you'd still have incredible success if you nailed that down and really doubled down on that. You could be serving the CEO of Apple, and that would be one person, but that would be more than helping 1,000 people that your mind would tell you, for example. That's a silly example. So as a projector, it's very important to make your thing, right? Do your art, make your offering, get really good at what you see, create a system around it, get clear on what it is, record the song, make the podcast, write the legal document. Come up with your idea, write it down, make a thesis on something so that people know what they're getting, so that you do what you say on the tin. If you aren't doing what you say on the tin, no one knows what to invite you for. Now, for generators and manifesting generators, it really is that the responding leads to the responding. What do I mean by that? The more in your life you respond to something, whenever you do, you create in your sacral system, in your sacral center, which is the center that governs life force and productivity and creativity, you stoke that fire. And when a generator has responded to lots of things, you become lit up and you become magnetic. Your system makes more energy and your aura also becomes more juicy and attractive. Therefore, as a generator, the more you can use the responding for the things that are already in your life, right? Like what time you wake up, what you have for breakfast, the way you eat, so fundamental. The way you eat is the building blocks of your daily experience, because then it creates your health, and then that's what's able to have every other thing planted on top of it, instead of, for example, eating the way that you think is the best way to eat, or all the studies you've read. Start eating in a way that is genuinely what you want when you want it. Make sure that, okay, if it's something you want to be healthy, make it something healthy, but make sure it's a healthy food you actually enjoy. I talk about this more in the Eating for Generators video course on our website. But, things like that, or dressing in a way that makes you happy. With generators, it really is about feeding your gut in every single choice that you make. So if, for example, you're feeling stuck, you can genuinely get unstuck by not doing the things that you realize don't actually light you up. And yes, there will be a time where it will seem like there's nothing else to replace it. But there's so many different vectors of life going on at the same time that, let's say, for example, you want to stop buying clothes that are, I don't know, too cool and too trendy. And for a moment, you're not buying anything. That's absolutely fine because you've already refrained from buying into something that was not you. And so even if, for example, it might take you 2 months to start figuring out style that does actually light you up, you freed up some gut energy there. And then maybe your dream career could come to you through what you see someone else doing on Instagram. The other thing, and I always say this about generators and manifesting generators, what makes you jealous? Because that is a sign of what lights you up. And if someone you see is making you jealous, don't just be like, oh, that's because I'm lit up by them. Try and figure out what it is exactly about them that lights you up. Is it their je ne sais quoi? Is it their joie de vivre? Is it their way of moving through the world? Is it their specific job? Is it how they feel about their job? Is it this specific part of doing their job? Is it the way they share their job? Get really, really detailed on what that thing is that is basically your soul trying to tell you that that's the specific part of your life that is now getting an example of what it wants to be. And then you can take the steps to go and be that way, right? So if you don't like someone's job, but you love the way they're sharing about it, and you have had a jealousy to that, think about being that way, right? That would light you up. Then that means you can go do it. But you've had to have felt that visceral jealousy first, which is just that lit upness in disguise. It's that excitement in disguise. So with generators, it really is about respond to more things, small and big, will lead you to other responses for the things you want to get unstuck on. And you never know which ones are related to which ones because of all the different threads inside our being. You pull on one and it is going to move the rest of the scaffolding around so much. So that's a really big one. And then stop doing things that don't excite you. And that sounds like doing nothing, but it is hard ass work. And it is especially hard for generators and manifesting generators. Especially, let's talk about the MGs specifically for 1 second. Especially when they have something that is semi-working, right? And it doesn't really light them up as much, but it's not lighting them up not completely either at the moment. There is this phase of, let me just do it less and start this new hobby on the side that I don't quite know yet where is going to take me, right? And it's not to say be foolish if you're terrified of quitting a job altogether, but can you face the responding less to something or putting energy less into something that used to light you up to free up some energy to respond to something else new, even if you don't know what it is, or if you do know what it is, you don't know where it's going to take you. These are practical, physical, daily hard work. They take bravery and they take steps. This is not a one and done thing. This is something that if you really want to get unstuck, you do it today and then you do it again tomorrow and then you do it another again tomorrow. And the more you do it, the more different areas of your life you're going to see these not self patterns have affected and bled into, and there will always be more. So the deeper you want to go, there's always another area to see. And that's just whenever you think you're done and then you see something else, that's just a testament to the fact that you're continually growing as a human being. And then with manifestors, it's really difficult to inform when you feel like you're stuck, because when you feel like you're stuck, you are almost ashamed of the fact that your life isn't moving at the pace you want it to. So sometimes it can very, very much feel embarrassing or shameful to tell people what your intentions are or what your feelings are. But you don't have to say, I want to be, I don't know, the CEO of a company. You don't have to declare your biggest dreams to everybody, but just think about being really raw and honest about people who in your life everyone who's in your life, if you're a manifester, is desperate, whether they know it or not, to want to get on some bandwagon of yours. And you'll probably have a handful of bandwagons, but they will literally thrive on helping you be on that bandwagon or playing a part in you being on that bandwagon, right? They'll want to feel like they know what that story is. They'll want to feel like they can join in. They'll want to feel like they can help you with it, whatever the extent is. And so even though you feel like you want to wait until things are going really well to start telling people what you want to do, because that almost qualifies you as being certain of what you want to do, you have to share before it's been made real, because literally, you sharing is what makes it real. And so, as a manifester, I'll tell you, my sister, for example, before she got this job, she called up her agent and said, I've been afraid to tell you there are certain jobs that you send me that I kind of pretend that I should want, and that I do them and I study for them and I audition for them, but they're not the auditions that I want. These are the kind of jobs I want. And I'm saying this to you so that you can help me find the jobs that I'm actually going to say yes to, that are then going to not waste your time and are then going to help us get the best result, because we're finding it's like a quality over quantity, right? So that is a great example of informing. It's being clear with everybody in your life about where you're at. Now, it's not to say that she has to go and tell my parents about what she wants in her work, right? But it's to tell the appropriate people the appropriate amount of stuff, and to be very honest with yourself about where you are hiding because you don't feel qualified enough to share yet. And if you can say this with certainty at some point, of just dropping into that genuineness, not that I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to be amazing, but let me tell you about something that I'm really desiring, and let me help you help me, or let me help us. Let me tell you where we're at. And that includes relationships. The way she informs with me now, I don't feel as rejected because she says, I'm only going to be able to do this kind of time with this person, or I actually don't really want to go and do 25 things. It's stuff like that that actually relieves everybody around you, because you know where you stand with a manifester. And as a manifester, you just always need to let everyone in your life know where they stand. You need to know what you expect from them. You need them to know how you feel, what you're wanting. And so that really is the way that you start to manifest. Literally, as a manifester, it is spoken through the voice. The throat center is the center of manifestation. And that's why we call them manifestors, because they have an energy center, a motor center connected to their throat, which means how they make stuff happen in their life is using their voice, literally communicating, speaking things into reality, right? And I don't mean speaking things into existence. I mean literally putting words into reality and allowing those words to shift the cogs around you. So be brave. Don't wait until you feel like you're enough of an authority. Speak now. Take people along on the journey. Be clear, be open, be upfront. Tell people what you want. Tell people your expectations. Manage their expectations of what you're going to give them. Reflectors. With reflectors, it's very much about waiting, because their temptation is that when I'm around you and you are a famous TikToker, as a reflector, I'll want to be a TikToker, and I will feel it so deep in my body that that's what I feel like doing. And that's who I am. That if I based all my life decisions on that very moment of how strongly I feel that, because I've taken on your energy, it's going to throw me completely off. And then 2 days later, I'm going to meet someone who runs a gym, and I'm going to want to get into fitness. I'm going to feel like fitness has always been one of my passions. I'm going to convince myself, oh my God, I'm so passionate. Fitness is my big thing. Right. And I'm going to go back and my mind's going to come up with all these stories of other times it's been important to me. And then I'm going to be in a coffee shop and I'm going to talk to a barista. And then I'm going to be like, oh my God, I'm such a coffee person. Maybe I need to make a business out of coffee. Or maybe I need to start drinking coffee every day and make me and my husband coffee. And I need to, get my kids on the snacks that they sell at the coffee shop, right? Even small things like that. Like I said, it's not just to do with work. If I can note those things down and say, I don't know with my own mind and my own being, because my being is so porous and so impassioned easily by life. If I don't know for sure that that is something that is a forever thing or just an in the moment thing, that I feel more strongly than other human beings feel the moment, like really they feel the moment so deeply. if I don't let that feeling the moment deeply, which is a beautiful thing, affect my life decisions, but just affect my abilities to feel life, which is a reflector's job for the rest of us. It's what they have to give back. It's what they give to us. It's not what they give to themselves. Okay, I had this urge to remember how much I loved coffee or fitness or insert whatever thing. Let me take note of it. Let me file it in the back of my mind or write it on a piece of paper, and let me see if it comes back around. And I'll sit with it and I'll invite life to re-demonstrate it to me another few times to tell me if it's the right thing or not. And so as a reflector, it's really about sitting in the center of the tribe, moving through your life, doing your thing, and really staying in your center and seeing if life is going to keep sending you that message loud and clear time and time again. And only move with the current of life and not move with the rush, 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 needing to have an immediate, to get rid of that discomfort of stuckness. Convince yourself quickly that you have the first answer that you feel strongly is the final answer. So I hope that really covers it for a lot of what we're going through now. But like I said in the app, it really describes exactly what your strategy is. And we also have a meditation for each energy type. And I would recommend that is a really practical way to ground the strategy day after day, because being who you really are against all the conditioning that comes into your life every single day, against who you are, all the stuff that tells you to be something else, the work of becoming your real self is creating a positive conditioning where you remind yourself of what you are every single day too. So you have a positive current that you've created that comes to you because you've made it come to you, right? So that's why we created the projector meditation, the manifestor meditation, and so on and so forth. So you pop it in the app and you do that meditation to realign with your type and your strategy, so that remembering to do that in a random situation comes to you more quickly, because that's at the top of your mind, instead of what's at the top of your mind is everything else you've seen from the world and from the political discussion and from the trends on the social media and all those things, because those things will sit at the forefront of your mind unless you go out of your way to make something else sit at the forefront of your mind of your own choosing.
And while we're just talking about the app, I do want people to know that the way that I just asked Jenna that last question and then she responded with very in-depth answers for each of the types, that's exactly the sort of tips and questions that we're answering in the app. There's a today's user question every single day. If you go to the tips section and you look into each of the categories that are associated with something in your chart, like if you're a generator, there's an entire category called generator. And there's questions where I've asked them to Jenna and she gives us really in-depth answers, anywhere from like 30 seconds to like 5 minutes. This is the sort of questions that you're getting answered in there.
Absolutely. And you can go in there and look at all the different questions that have ever been asked about being invited. And it's being invited to do this. How does it work in here? Like, that's where the tip section is really where we refine this and we apply these things to everyday life. So if you're wondering about how responding works to parenting, there's something in there. If you're wondering about how to inform with your partner, we literally will go in and paint the whole picture for you. And that's really what we're so passionate about now, is not just reading the chart and understanding it mentally, but how do we apply it? And we really are ready as spiritual kind of like toddlers. We've grown up now. A lot of us have been in spirituality for maybe 5-10 years. We've understood the concepts. Even if you've just come to it, you've understood the concepts. Now is the time where we need to like live it and demonstrate it and live as these people who are dedicated to being aligned, because that's what the universe is responding to and rewarding. So that's where we really felt so passionate about introducing this section into the app, so that we can actually get into the nitty gritty of life with you. Like, how does it look to respond according to X, Y, and Z? And so also go in there and ask questions and submit your questions about these kind of things, because the more different iterations and situations in life we can answer, the better and easier it is for us to all grasp it and to have this knowledge at our fingertips, so that you can literally go in for anything that's happening to you right now in your life and get an answer. So yeah, I really, really hope that At this point in time, it really is about serving you so well in how your spirituality is playing out in your life today. Because life is such an intelligent force that it is going to send you the exact next things you need to realign to, the exact same situations that need you to not be your not self in anymore, the exact situations where you are stuck, the places where you do need to create movement, the places where you are holding on to consciousness that doesn't serve you anymore. We don't need to worry about the curriculum that life is sending to us. But what we do need to think about is, how do we bring these spiritual concepts of who we choose to be, and how do we apply it to what might seem so mundane, my normal, basic brass tacks reality? That if I address it and I face it, that's exactly where my assignment lies. I can turn that brass tacks into something really, really beautiful. And we all deserve that so much right now. So here's to your rising.